Hello students, welcome to the INI-CET July 2023 Counselling. First of all, heartiest congratulations to everybody who has secured a good rank so as to participate in this INI-CET Counselling. You get to do your residency, your dream branch in a central institute, and there is no greater feeling than that for an MBBS graduate. I remember during my time, I was so happy when I got a rank 4 in AIIMS PG and I dreamt of doing my residency in a central institute, and I went on to do my radiology residency from PGI Chandigarh. So first thing first, in this video, I want to talk to you about the brief counselling process in general, which are the important dates, how to fill up the form and the choices. And the second part of the video, I like to tell you a brief branch selection guide. What are the factors that you should consider while choosing a specialty? Because I know a lot of you would be very perturbed and would be very confused as to which branch to choose. So let's start with the video. So first thing first, let's just go with the important dates. So the actual counselling for the first round, yes, so the counselling in this session will be in 2 rounds, first and second round, and the first round is being preceded by a mock round for which the choices have already been filled, and tonight you must have gotten the mock first round results. But the actual counselling starts from 16th, that is tomorrow, and the whole process will go on till 28th of June for the first round. So 28th is the last day for online acceptance of allotted seat. Now in the first round, the choice filling is from 16th to 17th. That is just 2 days for choice filling. So before that, that is today, make sure you have a list of branches that you want to do and the institutes in which you want to do. I'll again come to this point, which branch you should take and which institute you should take. But for choice filling, there are 2 dates you have to remember, 16th and 17th. Now for the second round, the counselling starts, the choice filling and allotment of seat allocation for the second round starts from 7th July. Now for the second round of counselling, you don't get to choose again the choices that you have filled up in the first round itself will be taken for seat allocation in the second round. So remember, the choices that you fill for this first round are very, very important because they will only get carried forward for the second round. Now the announcement of the results, as I told you, for the second round will be on 7th of July, and the online acceptance of allocated seat will be from 8th to 12th July, right? And the reporting will be again from 12th July, and as far as I know, the session will start from August, right? So for the open round of counselling, again this time it will be an online format, and the tentative different specialty dates allocation would start from 24th of July by 5 p.m. and the seat allocation for the same will be on 11th of August, and I'm sure all of you know these tentative dates and they're very readily available on the AIIMS exams website. So briefly recapitulating what we said, so there'll be first a mock round which has already been completed now, and then there'll be a first round of counselling. Now the first round of counselling for choice filling will start from 16th, that is tomorrow, and you'll have to log in and make choices on the My Page app that you used for filling up information regarding the AIIMS exam entrance. And finally you submit the choices and finally make your choices logged, and the results will come out soon. Okay, so just briefly telling you the online seat allocation process. So you first have to register on the PG online seat allocation portal on the My Page app. Now this is the page which you use to access for filling the application form for your AIIMS entrance exam, and the first time users will have to register for an online seat allocation and set a new password. So for participating in an online counselling process, you'll have to register in a separate portal and set up a new password. So you'll have 2 sets of passwords. So both passwords you'll have to maintain separately. One password will be for your My Page account, and the second password will be for your online PG seat allocation. And finally, you'll fill in the choices of the seats, that is a combination of an institute and the subspecialty, and the choices for the second round, remember this, cannot be changed. So whichever branch and whichever institute you logged in for the first counselling, they will be again carried forward for seat allocation in the second round. Now, how will the seat allocation start? So for AIIMS, that is AIIMS Delhi and all the other 15 AIIMS, there is a roster point allocation for counselling. Now this was introduced last year in July 2022 session, and what actually it does, that this is the roster point that the AIIMS publishes every counselling session. Okay, so for example, if there is an internal candidate of AIIMS Delhi, he'll get preference for seat allocation here, and this is a roster point system where every seat allocation is mentioned, that for example, the first person that will be called for counselling, or the first person for whom the seat will be allocated, will be UR1, and likewise UR2, 3, then OBC1 will be allocated seat, and finally IP1 will be allocated seat over UR4, right? Now, with regards to other central institutes, so JIPMER also has its own roster point system, but PGI and NIMHANS don't have any institute preference because they don't have undergraduate courses. So for them, PGI and NIMHANS, there will be an open counselling for all India level. There is no institute preference, and that will automatically be adjusted in the seat allocation process. Now, finally, which branch to choose? This is a very important question, and I can totally understand if some of you might be confused and still not decided which branch I want to take. Now, the first thing that I usually tell juniors is to first decide whether you want to take a medical or a surgical specialty, because that limits your options and that narrow down your options. Okay, these are the things that I want to do. Now, medical branches include medicine, pediatrics, psychiatry, dermatology, and in my opinion, if you are open to a medical branch, then within that medical branch, for example, peds, medicine, these are sort of overlapping subjects. I think you should be flexible within a medical branch to get it in a good institute. And similarly, if you're inclined towards a surgical branch, for example, you like surgery, likewise you can opt for ortho, obs-gynae, ophthal. All these are surgical branches and will help you decide a particular branch. Now, the second thing that I want to tell you is to first exclude the branches that you don't want to do. For example, when I was when I was attending my counselling, I was very sure that there are 3-4 branches that I don't like, okay, that I don't want to do, that I don't see myself doing for the rest of my life. And so even if I got a good rank, I was sure that I won't take that branch. That one of the branches was dermatology, although it is a very top end branch, very high demanding branch among medical aspirants, but somehow I never had an inclination towards taking dermatology. So first you can exclude branches that you don't want to do, and then include the branches that you want to do. So for example, you want to do radiology, you want to do surgery, you are open to doing medicine, and finally ortho. If you have decided that these are the branches that I am fine with doing, then you move on to the next step and choose your institute. So the branch versus institute dilemma, although a lot of teachers and a lot of people say that a branch is much more important than institute, I'd like to slightly differ to this point, that both branch and institute are important, because an institute gives you a lot of exposure in terms of academics, in terms of contacts, in terms of further opportunities to do well. And like I said, what you can do is to make a list of branches that you are fine with doing, okay, that you like doing, that you won't mind doing for the rest of your life, and within those branches, choose the best institutes that are possible. So the things that you should keep in mind are academics, clinical exposure if you're opting for a medical branch. For example, if you're opting for medicine, you might want to know how much time I'm getting posted in super specialties like cardiology, neurology, medical oncology, gastroenterology, etc. Likewise, if you are opting for a surgical branch, you would want to know what is the surgical exposure that I am getting during my residency, how many cases that I get to do during my residency, and likewise. Now, another important thing is toxicity, and this is quite prevalent now. A lot of people are talking about this, and in my personal opinion also, you do not want to do your residency in a very toxic environment, because residency itself is pretty hard. There are intense working hours. You'll be working mostly 14 to 15 hours a day, and in a toxic environment, those hectic hours also feel very burdened sort of thing, right? So you want to do at a place which is sort of friendly, which is sort of likable, the residents and the faculty are approachable, and so you do keep the toxicity factor in mind. Now finally, the city I've kept as the last criteria, because finally you want to get trained in a good institute, but then again a good city helps you relax after a hectic work life. So city is another important thing that you should keep in mind, like Delhi, Chandigarh, Jodhpur, these are good cities. Rishikesh, these are good cities to live. Bhubaneswar also, right? So these are the 4 criteria that I used to think when I was opting for a medical branch, and I tell my juniors the same thing. Now the third pointer I would like to tell you are something called as Evergreen Branch. Now I know all branches are good, and I totally agree, all branches have their own place in the medical practice, but there are some evergreen branches. What does evergreen branch mean? Branches which have vacancies both in government and both in private. So for example, if you're talking about medicine, peds, obs, gynae, radiology, surgery, orthopedics, so almost whenever a medical college or whenever a medical hospital, any hospital opens up, you get vacancies for these branches, right? So they're very less. There is no possibility that you will not be easily employed after doing an MD. For example, in dermatology, for example in ophthalmology, the salaries in a private hospital are usually less, and so for what most people do with such branches is open their own setup, and they're doing extremely well doing that, right? But branches like obs, gynae, peds, medicine, surgery, radiology, orthopedics, these usually have good openings both in corporate, both in private, both in government hospitals. So these are the evergreen branches. Now finally, the 4th question is, where do you want to settle? For example, if you want to settle in a tier 1 city like Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, all branches are saturated, all branches are competitive. You'll have to do a super specialty to stand out, and salaries across all super specialities are more or less similar. Now, if you're settling in a tier 2 or a tier 3 cities, then you can do away with an MD or MS plain, because again you have a good opportunity to set up your own private practice and do exceedingly well in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, believe me, right? Now finally, I would like to tell you that whichever branch you choose, take it that I'll do this for the rest of my life, because I see a lot of juniors second guessing their choices, second guessing their branches, and leaving the course in between. Now all branches, let me tell you, you'll hate the residency in the first 6 months. Hate radiology also. Okay, I know my juniors that during the first 6 months, they were like, I don't want to do this, this is not suiting me. But I tell them, give it some time, give it 1 to 2 years, give it at least 1 year, you'll start liking the subject, because whenever you are entering any new specialty, it feels so weird, it feels very different. MBBS is very different from a residency. So what I tell my juniors is that your branch is like your spouse, okay? No matter whether you hate it or whether you love it, you'll have to stay with it and do well with it, okay? And this was all from my side regarding this counseling process. Best of luck.